like we always do. Hi. Time. We're talking about time today. And this is a very, very emotive subject. It's a very loaded topic at the moment within physics and within the new cosmology. So time is of the essence is a well-known phrase, but I would say time is the essence. A lot of people will make the statement that time is a construct, but a construct of whom, or a construct with what end? And I think within the electric universe, time means we can connect with everything else, and everything can connect with everything else. So I think we've got three main tabs here. We've got awareness and time and reality. And if time becomes a living essence in an electric universe because it measures the space between sequential events and brings them together in a way that says, right, my reality is now joining with your reality, and our awareness puts the seal on that. So it's like saying that somebody going to view the Acropolis or the Leaning Tower of Pisa or St Paul's Cathedral has an awareness of that thing for themselves, that place for themselves, and that awareness is the same as somebody else's awareness who goes to see the same site or sites a day later. Okay, so the connecting thing here is the elastic here is time, but the awareness point is the same, and the difference in time is really a privilege of their separate reality, because in that 24-hour time lapse, something could have altered in one of those places. Something could be slightly different by courtesy of time. So I think that time is, along with gravity, is those two things are probably the two most important forces, and I do think that time is a force in that respect. Joe, what do you think?
With gravity, I don't think that's relevant to the electric universe. However,
what about time, though?
Time is essential to the universe, because without time you can't have experience.
But I think time might go into mayhem without gravity. You see, time as we know it as a construct might go into absolute turmoil without the force of gravity.
Well, where we exist allows things to happen. Experiences do happen where we exist on the surface of a planet. Beyond the ionosphere, it goes back into being the electric universe.
Yeah.
And we live within this small, thin line.
Yeah. Which is dictated by time to a large extent, isn't it?
It allows the passage of time to happen. I don't want to say dictating, because I don't think anything should dictate to anything in the universe.
No, but whether it should and whether it does, I think are two different things.
There's a hierarchy and structure of the universe, but
I
think where we exist, there's time is more the experience of who you are, what you interact with.
But doesn't time organise a kind of sequential series of events? In other words, it allows them to happen, or it allows us to perceive them as happening at certain points along a certain line, a timeline. In other words, we know that, somebody invented the wheel. We don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. And then we know that somebody invented penicillin, and we don't need to keep reinventing penicillin, and so on. And those happen sequentially.
Yeah, that's just stored within our consciousness now, isn't it? It's almost like history.
Yeah, yeah,
But that is our consciousness. That is what we've learned as a whole, as a people, as a race.
yeah.
Um,
And it probably is quite factually correct, but in that respect, as far as we're concerned, looking at it now, do you know what I mean? If we went back in time, if we went back along this line, we might see it differently because penicillin wouldn't have been invented, etc. And this gets us into the philosophy of different philosophies, doesn't it?
well, time's linear, isn't it? It's like saying
Time. Well, is time linear or is it convolute? See, I believe it's convolute, but that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't have an order. It doesn't. It doesn't mean to say it doesn't bestow an order of events that are measurable, because I don't think time. If time was linear, we'd fall off an edge, wouldn't we?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I think we only measure time because we perish. In the physical universe, we have deadlines because things are perishable, not the least us in our physical body.
Well, the whole life is driven by time to be at someone's house,
Yes,
time to be
yes.
in for tea, or time to go to the football match, or whatever.
But that's a kind of societal
That's what we've been doing.
convention, isn't it? We have to have that. But people who get Alzheimer's and get all kinds of problems in that mental state can look at time differently. So their time structure won't be the same as other people's in the conventional sense, which shows that the inner time, the psychological time. I think there are two sorts of time. Yes, there is chronological time, and then there's psychological time. And if you're going through a trauma, or suddenly you're in a state of fear, time slows for you at a psychological level.
Our perception of time does.
Yeah, exactly. Our perception.
But the master clock is the planet we live on, and then the master
Yes.
clock of that is
Yes.
the sun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think. So I think as you go back towards, so from our experience to the Earth's experience, from the Earth's experience to the sun's experience, and then from the sun's experience to the cluster of stars experience, and then from that cluster's experience to the nebula's experience, the whole thing is connected, and each thing has its own time.
Yes, but there's no existence. There's no existence without perception, and perception is a question of a point in time. Because I can keep missing something. It's like, well, how did I miss that? I've been passing it for 2 weeks. How did I not see that building, that place, that person? I've been, going past it for 2 weeks, and then suddenly I perceive it, and so it becomes real in my time sphere. And if I don't see it, then it isn't real in my time sphere.
I was going to say, have you perceived it, or have you just found a piece of time where you've not been distracted by something else?
Yeah, and that leads us into a very, very, very much. I believe we live in a multiverse, a multi-layered universe. So I believe that, to a certain extent, all time is now, and I believe that there are many dimensions in which things happen at the same time, synchronistically. I believe in synchronicity, obviously, as a Jungian. So really, what you've just said brings up this famous philosophical point of, does something exist until it's observed? And before that point in time when it was observed, where was it, and was it in existence?
Well, I don't question everything, because everything does exist.
Yeah, for somewhere. And this is where I think parallel universe comes into it. And time is one of those string things. It's like the string theory, isn't it? Particles and waves, and how they perform differently when they're observed and when they're not observed. And quantum physics made a big leap forward when it acknowledged that was so. Yeah.
Well, possibly, but I think, well, from my point of view,
Yeah.
I see that I am my own universe. So when I interact with things, if I'm enjoying myself, the time will pass quickly. If I'm not enjoying it, it seems to go backwards. It's like when you
Backwards.
Friday afternoon, you're in the office, and all you can wait for is 5:30. You look at the clock, and it's going backwards.
No, backwards or just standing still.
Well, the more you look at the clock, the slower it seems to go, and backwards is a bit, yeah.
Yeah, Robert Hand, giving acknowledgement to other people. Robert Hand, a research astrologer, wrote about Pluto, and he'd done masses of years of research and said that Pluto was in charge of, it had jurisdiction over, again, he brought in the force of gravity, I think, and time. And when Pluto was in certain positions within the zodiac wheel, time would definitely quicken up. And people might say, well, that's the perception of time quickening, but is our perception linked to some kind of frequency over which we have no control? In other words, an electrical impulse of some sort over which we have little control.
I think we resonate with certain frequencies that the solar system gives out. So some days people are good, some days people are bad. But not everyone's having the same feelings all the time.
But that's away from this question of time, though, is it, or isn't it?
Well,
in your estimation,
it's people, like I was saying before, about having a slow experience or you're not enjoying something.
Oh, so you're likening that to bad or good?
Yeah, because of who you are, the way you resonate, and it's not compatible with the resonance around you, so you don't seem to enjoy it or you're not with it. So that will cause time to go very slowly because you're witnessing every second. Every second is being witnessed, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think you can slow. I think you can slow time down within your own perception. I do really think you can. I think that sometimes when you're not doing anything constructive, say when you're lazing about or you're just having a time out period and not using your time, you're not under a clock or under pressure to do something or specific things. I think time can go more quickly than when you're actually busy.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I do agree. It's going back to being in the office at 2 o'clock and you're waiting for 5:30.
Because you're not doing anything.
Well, if you get on with the work, before you know it, it's 5:30 and you're going home. But if you look at the clock, it's
because the consciousness of time may actually dictate time personally. There are people who lose time. I mean, they lose whole hours or whatever. It happened to me once, and I just completely lost an hour, and I don't know. It went by in something like 5 minutes, and I really don't know. I still can't think why that happened, but it did. And
these are the people that say there's not enough time in the day to do stuff.
No, I mean, I'm talking about a more extreme experience,
right.
and I'm not talking about people who literally are so busy they'd like more hours in the day. I mean people who misplace time. People when they've imbibed a lot of alcohol or they've had drugs or something will misplace time. Time definitely distorts, and the unconscious mind doesn't know time, of course.
Well, no, we're not supposed to know time. I think if we are to get distorted, then we should be with that distortion.
Well, I think, and when you take drugs or alcohol, you go more into the alpha state, which is the province of the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And time does have this. You get a different perspective on. And in fact, are you in a no time zone? This is interesting. Time can only really exist in a physical reality, I'm sure, and beyond that, it can't exist.
Well, it doesn't exist, I don't think, because it is everything.
See, is there only so much time within the universe, or is time expanding as we expand our consciousness and our awareness with a creative universe? This is an interesting question, and one we probably can't answer. If there's only so much time, like the fish tank theory, then there's a point where we reach our limit of time because it's the same as space.
Oh yeah, but it's somewhere else in the universe. They might perceive time going by very fast. So their day might only be 18 hours long, but the perception of time is completely different from ours by 6 hours.
Yeah.
So, but they perceive it just a little bit different.
So it is really a wholly erroneous construct, isn't it, time? It's quite immaterial to anything that's lasting or sacred or fundamental.
Well, I think that's what time actually does to society. It makes things material.
Yeah. So time and physicality are the same thing, really.
I'd say so, yeah, because time organises what we do, where we go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what time
It limits as well.
It does limit.
It's limiting, and beyond time there is no limit.
It describes when you go to sleep, when you wake up, and for me, it's a way of just dictating how people should live.
But I think it is people. I think we should be aware that it's a very there's something beyond time which calls for time itself to be an essence that we have to use. I think there's something beyond it. We're not going to get to it today, but time is the construct, but it does have a master over and above itself.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But
would you hesitate to name that?
Like I say, the time we experience is in between what we call the ionosphere and the surface of the Earth.
Yeah. Right.
Beyond that, it becomes the electrical universe, and we are
right. So, okay,
within its own construct, and beyond that, there's probably other realms beyond that is. So it's for everything to be the same and one and the same. I don't think that's true, because it wouldn't be much of an experience for the universe to produce the same thing in every single different place.
No, no, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be very efficient. So I think everywhere perceives time differently.
Yeah.
And beings would do different things in this time space that they're used to, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, that's all for today.